We are in not quite so sunny Somerset, in a wonderful little village called Bratton Seymour, and we've got quite a large contract to build an extension and widen a driveway and all sorts of things. And because it's a rural area, and you'll see some of the surrounding countryside in a moment, the sound travels really easily, and we've got some quite pernickety neighbours, shall we say. So we've chosen to use a new JCB electric digger, fairly new to the market. It's the first time we've used one, so we're going to give it a good go, and we'll tell you a little bit more about it at the end. You'll see it. You'll see the bucket being changed. You'll see it in operation. The controls are exactly the same as any other JCB. It's not until you turn the key and hear a little bleep and there's no engine noise that you realise you're in an electric digger. The whole point really is, you know, low sound, no emissions, whatever. And a great sort of addition to lowering the carbon footprint. Not really, you know, I mean, we haven't used it yet, we're going to use it, but, you know, the traditionalists amongst us get used to the roar of the diesel engine, and, you know, we're not quite sure about the power or whatever, but we'll talk about that later on. It runs on a 4-pack battery, 5 kilowatt hour batteries. Battery life is, we're told, is somewhere between 5 and 7 hours on not too heavy a dig. If you're in clay or you're pulling through tree roots, I don't think we're going to get that much, but it's not bad. Plug it in overnight on a normal 110 through a 110 supply. You can transform that down from 240, so you can plug it into your house to a transformer straight into the digger, 8 hours charge, and you're ready to go again. One of the wonderful things that we've thought about this thing is it's perfect for guys that are working. They're doing work at home, they're doing some work DIY or whatever in the garden. This is the sort of thing you can come home after work, jump in the digger, it makes no noise, you're not going to upset the neighbours at 6 o'clock in the evening or at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning. It's perfectly silent. The biggest noise you can hear today is the wind blowing a gale around me, but you know, it's marvellous for that sort of thing. We'll let you know in a bit whether it's going to be any good on site. I want to say a huge thank you to our friends at Higher Standards. They're not far away from here in Shaftesbury. They've lent us the digger, first of all because they want to see how it's going to work out on site, and they're a great company. So if you are local in Somerset, look for Higher Standards. They'll help you out with all the kit you need. So let's get on and do some work. So, apart from the noise of the bucket in the ground, this is as loud as it gets. If you can hear the wind, you'll know the wind is louder than the digger, but it's absolutely silent, which on site is a little bit worrying. If you're just walking past, we're all used to the tobe. The other good thing is that the digger driver can hear the banksman, which, unlike a diesel digger, sometimes you can't. You're yelling, "Pipe! Pipe!" but nobody can hear you, so that's a really good thing. The downside of that is that on site you can't hear the diesel noise, you know, so you've got to be careful when you're walking around. You need fences and everything protecting you, but the whole point of it is that this can be used in a busy neighbourhood. It can be used indoors. We know a couple of sites in London that have actually using these in the basement of hotels, so they're not disturbing any of the residents, so that's really quite an incredible feature. We've used this for a couple of hours now. You know, you've probably gathered this is a kind of demo video before we really start work. So we've been seeing what it's capable of. Toby's agreed it's got the same power as a diesel digger. It's not quite got the same feel, but it does its job. It's doing its job perfectly. It is quiet, there are no emissions, we're not upsetting the neighbours, and it's doing the job we want it to do. So yeah, I mean, we're going to see more and more of these on site, I'm sure, as the eco revolution carries on. So all power to them. It's a great little tool. I'd certainly recommend it for DIY in the evenings or at weekends and not upsetting the neighbours. We've done a fair bit of that in our time, so a really cool idea. We're quite impressed with it. It works just the same as a diesel digger. It's just a whole lot quieter and better for the environment. So yeah, great little digger.